All too often, I see new players, or as what we like to call them, greenbeards, ask about when they should start doing elite deep dives, or complain that they're too hard. And the honest answer is, it really ain't that deep. Now what I'm going to be talking about is going to be more focused on team-based gameplay, but the solo players out there can definitely glean something from this video. Now I've found that there are three main issues that new players face in the elite deep dives. That is objective prioritization, survivability, and general team play. Now all the topics that I'm going to be talking about in this video should be covering all three of those issues, some more than others, but we're going to get right into it and take a look at why you suck at the elite deep dive. Now the first thing I'm going to be talking about is knowing your role. Deep Rock Galactic has those four classes for a reason, and they all synergize with each other really well if you know how to play around them. So I think one of the main things that I would start doing is start playing one class a lot and getting really familiar with all the weapons, just how to play the class in general. For example, if you're playing Driller, you shouldn't be taking a lot of your time trying to kill the big stuff. Your weapons aren't really meant to kill Praetorians, Bulks, heavy creatures like that, just because of how its kit works. As a Driller, your kit is supposed to do CC and kill all the little things. You also know as a Driller that you're supposed to manipulate terrain, whether that's just digging through dirt very quickly, or trying to make a nice bubble around the black box that's laying against the side of a wall. Little things like that you'll just pick up with time, and it may be one of those things where it may take 2 or 3 promotions to even get a good feel for how to play around a team, but make sure that you really understand the role that you have in the team. And honestly, that goes beyond the class-based system. Make sure you're like one of the guys who pings priority targets or communicates with the team as to where to go in the cave. Guys like that make the elite deep dive way smoother and obviously helps out the team way more. The next one on my list is stick with your team. Oh my gosh, guys, the amount of times that I've had to go back and try to help out newer players or even experienced players that really aren't paying attention and revive them are too numerous to count. And I get it, sometimes we can get caught up in a swarm, or maybe we're trying to do some sort of objective on the side and we get stuck somewhere. But honestly, half the time I see people getting stuck is because they're distracted by like gold. Just try not to be that guy. Try to be the guy that sticks with the rest of the team to help create that synergy that you all need. It's going to make clearing bugs way smoother, and ultimately if you do go down, you're at least going to know that you're not going to sit there for 5-10 minutes while the rest of your team deals with a swarm and then you're back like 2 or 3 caves behind. Alright, next we're going to be talking about collecting Nitra and knowing when to call your resupply. I've played plenty of regular missions where our team could have easily won if we had resupplies and collected enough Nitra at the end of the day. Well, the same goes for elite deep dives. You're going to be going through quite a bit of ammo on these, since you're going through 3 mission types, with swarms, with dreadnoughts, with elites, you get it. Keeping all that in mind, it's very important to find a good time to be able to put your resupply down. A good rule of thumb is not to use your resupply in the first stage. Stage 1 is already hazard 4.5, so it's not even Haz 5 yet, and most of the time you're able to fly through that mission fairly quickly depending on the mission type. So if you can get through the first mission without a resupply, you're just going to have that much more later on. It's also important to coordinate when to call it with the rest of your teammates. Always let someone know that you're ready for a resupply, because it can get annoying when someone just calls one and then the rest of your team really doesn't need it. Just like I mentioned earlier, resupplies win or lose games, So make sure you guys communicate. Alright, my next tip is going to be know your overclocks. Now, I realize that you're probably new to the game, or even if you have been playing a while, you may not pay as much attention to them. They are very important. And while there is a quasi-meta in Deep Rock Galactic as to what overclocks you use with what guns, what I would argue is do whatever you feel more comfortable with. There's going to be some times where the best option may not be the best option for you because, hey, I've been using, this overclock for, the past 5 elite deep dives and I'm pretty comfortable with it. And sometimes you may not even have the overclock that is the meta one, or the one that you would like to use because you've seen other people use it. So you got to work around that, or you got to play some more missions to unlock them. What I'm going to do, and I don't even know the guy, but I'm going to link Waste's overclock tier list video in the description below, because he does a really good job with just going over each and every overclock and some of the pros and cons to each. I'm also going to make some videos here pretty soon with each of the Scrubcraft guys as to kind of how they like to play the elite deep dives, and I may share some of the builds that they like to use along with the overclocks. If you guys haven't already seen my Driller elite deep dive build video, go ahead and take a look at it if you're a Driller main. It's basically got a whole build for each of the primary weapons that you would use on Driller. And the very last tip that I'm going to give you guys is play the game around the objectives. The elite deep dives don't have any extra things for you to do. They don't have any extra loot. They don't have any extra minerals to mine. They're straight objective-based gameplay. So when you're trying to fight swarms or hordes of bugs, try to do that all around where you're working. So if you have an on-site refinery mission and you need to build those rails, and there's a swarm coming, try to take care of the swarms while you're building your rails. What you may be tempted to do is fight swarms in a whole different area of the cave because maybe it has a good choke point, or maybe there's a lot of red sugar around the area. Well, try to fight that temptation and continue to play that objective while you're trying to fight those enemies. All these tips I'm giving you today don't really have anything to do with your mechanics or specific builds that you need to do. This is just kind of game sense, to be honest, and all this comes with time. So don't be discouraged when you're trying to get through the elite deep dive and you're just having a really hard time. Stick with it. You gotta be able to find people that you also play well with and are patient with you. Keep on playing those Has 5 missions, keep your head up, and keep rocking and stoning. Thanks for watching the video.